Modern Warfare 2 a battu tous les records de vente et Activision ne compte pas s'arrêter là. Cette année, les développeurs semblent décidés à réaliser un opus encore plus impressionnant et plus spectaculaire. Jeuxvideo.com a rencontré Marc Lamia et Josh Olin du studio Treyarch pour en savoir plus avant les révélations attendues à l'E3. Ils nous présentent les nouveautés de Black Ops, le prochain épisode de la série Call of Duty qui vous plongera en pleine guerre froide.
So with Call of Duty Black Ops, we wanted to do something completely new, something totally ownable, and so we looked at this era, this Cold War era, as an opportunity to take on something totally new and to be able to introduce new gameplay experiences to the player. And in particular, we look at the Black Ops that occurred during this era. So it's not so much about the conflicts that did exist. It's about the conflicts you didn't know about. It's about the secret wars. The deniable conflicts that lay underneath the Cold War.
In Call of Duty Black Ops, it's going to take you as the player around a number of different hot zones around the world that were occurring during that era. And so naturally that took us to Southeast Asia and Vietnam. And what I like to think of it as is a needle and thread is our story. And that thread is weaving its way through points of reference in time and various conflicts that do give you some historical backdrop to them. But you are following a very specific and fictional story that we are creating for you.
In Vietnam, there was the war, and then there were the black operations that were conducted in Southeast Asia, the places that that nobody could admit that they were. And that's what inspired a lot of the operations that we're going to be running in Vietnam. Now, we have our own story, as Josh mentioned, that will thread through time, through a larger period of the Cold War, and of course, it will also thread through the Vietnam conflict. Well, we draw inspiration from movies, from books. We come up with our own creatives, and I would say, most importantly, from actual veterans who conducted black operations. We talked with Major John Plaster, who is a member of SOG, the Studies and Observations Group. Now that is that's a multi-branched force made up of the best, Green Berets, Army branch, Air Force, and Navy. We learned a lot about how those operations were conducted. We learned a lot about the SOG directly from Major Plaster, who is a member of SOG and is a published author on the SOG. We also learned about black operations and special operations from the Soviet side. And we met with the Soviet Spetsnaz soldier, that's Sonny Puzikas, and he came to the studio as well. And he was quite an inspiring individual, and he talked a lot about his training and about how they combat and they do battle. And in fact, we're currently modeling some of our AI behavior directly based off of how Sonny does combat and how the Spetsnaz are trained. So when you're fighting our Soviet Spetsnaz, you might be actually fighting Sonny. I like the crossbow. The crossbow is badass, and it's got this awesome scope. And when you look through the scope, you have the diffraction on the outside of it, and I like its alternative form of ammo, which is an explosive tip.
Vous l'aurez compris, avec ce Black Ops, le studio Treyarch veut bel et bien montrer qu'il a repris le flambeau des Call of Duty. La présentation du jeu a fait forte impression. On attend d'en voir plus à l'E3.